Have you seen the Jay Glazer interview where he talked about Maxx Crosby not only having played his final down with the Raiders, but predicting that, yes, he's going to be traded, and it's probably going to be before the NFL draft? This was at Radio Row, Media Row, whatever they're calling it, at the Super Bowl. Have you seen the conviction with which this guy, Jay Glazer, who is very, very close with Maxx Crosby, and he's a reporter, but and this is not meant as a shot. Like, we've had him on the air. He's awesome.
He's great, yeah.
I don't necessarily call him a reporter. I don't know if he would call himself as a reporter.
I don't know what to call it anymore. And I'm not, and again, I know it's and exactly what you're saying. It sounds dismissive and mean, like it's an insult. It's not. He's something else.
It might even be dismissive. It's not meant that way. And if he says I'm a reporter and push back, then I would feel bad. He is a guy that is very close with a lot of people. And when he chooses to, he breaks news. He knows a lot of stuff all the time that he's not saying. But every now and then, there's something where, like, if Maxx Crosby's traded, Jay Glazer's going to have it first, and he'll tweet scoopage in all caps, and he'll tell you what's going on. And he has these unbelievable relationships. It really is staggering, Danny. Like, having been on the inside of this as a reporter covering a beat before, you go down to the owners' meetings, as an example, when they're at, like, West Palm Beach or out to Arizona when they're at the Biltmore in Phoenix, and you'll be walking in the courtyard, and your whole goal as a reporter is, like, maybe I'll get 2 minutes with my offensive coordinator or my head coach somewhere today.
Yep.
And then you, like, come around the corner, and at a table with Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton and Sean McVay and everyone from that tree, at the head of the table, like, smoking a stogie, is Jay Glazer, like, telling stories.
Remember when we were in, what city would it have been? Maybe it was Indianapolis or something. I can't remember where we were, but we were somewhere on the road, and we walked into the steak joint in town, and to your point, it's like the who's who of the NFL. It's like the deans, like the Mike Holmgrens of the world, like everybody out there, and it's just a couple of the bigwig reporters. Like, I remember our guy Jerry Brewer was at a really fancy pants table. We're just over there by ourselves. Like, we're actually after Stan Humphries.
Glazer was there?
I don't know if Glazer was at that one, but it's that kind of deal where it's like there's certain levels to it, where it's like the regular beat reporters just eking out any kind of nugget they can 24/7, and then there's the bigwigs that have the relationships.
Glazer is so plugged in that he's not going to miss very often. That's kind of my point, and that's why I bring this up. It's to endorse this idea of when the groundhog sees its shadow here, he's going to be right. And so he comes out when asked about Maxx Crosby this week and says this about one of the best edge rushers in the NFL.
They're playing.
I think his time with the Raiders is done.
I do.
Okay. Before the draft?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Is there a landing spot that makes sense in your opinion?
A ton of them. I'm not going to say what it is yet because I'm going to try and help it out.
Sure. What kind of haul do you think realistically a Maxx Crosby gets in general?
He probably more than Micah.
So he didn't give much information, and I don't know. Again, this is where it's like he's not Schefter, because Schefter finds something out. He's telling you about it 3 seconds later. You're basically talking to a guy who knows Maxx Crosby pretty well, is kind of the gist I get. But he's also plugged in enough with the Raiders that he might be talking to a front office guy, or who knows how many other people he's discussing this with. But he's saying he's going to be traded. He thinks it'll be before the draft. The part that really surprised me about all that, the rest of it is kind of like, okay, I get that. More than Micah Parsons.
So that was 2 first-rounders, one in 26, and then one in 27, and starting defensive lineman Kenny Clark. That was that haul.
That's a big haul.
Yes, it is.
Kenny Clark's been a Pro Bowler. I know he's long in the tooth and older.
A good player, yeah.
Like a legitimate, solid starter. The Cowboys raved after the fact, probably to put themselves over a little bit.
Yeah, congratulating themselves.
About how good a player they got. And he did have a good season. It was fine. But you're talking about a solid starter and 2 first-round picks. And he's saying it might be better than that. So the package here would be, you're talking about like Daron Payne and 2 first-round picks or something like that. Or you could maybe say like Johnny Newton, a 1, and a 3. Or some package like that for Maxx Crosby, who's 28. He did get hurt and missed the very end of the season. He wanted to play through the injury. He wasn't allowed to. Interestingly, Danny, in the last 2 years, he's had 7.5 and 10 sacks. Now, he missed 5 games 2 years ago and 2 games this year. So he's not been quite at the same level as a few years ago. And this is a guy that the sack totals, I don't think, tell the whole story.
No, they don't.
12.5 sacks in 2022, 14.5 sacks in 2023. Kind of Ryan Kerrigan-esque, maybe a little bit better production in terms of sacks and TFLs. But what you have to look at is he led the league back-to-back years in tackles for loss. His pressure rate is astronomical. He has led or been at the top in pressures via PFF with Aaron Donald year in and year out for a long time. He has made 5 consecutive Pro Bowls. Those aren't Shedeur Sanders Pro Bowls. Those are real Pro Bowls. I know we're not supposed to talk about the Pro Bowl as a way of quantifying how good a player is anymore. He's been a second-team All-Pro twice and a first-team All-Pro once. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. A perennial start of the year, top 5 likely DPOY guy. That's how good Maxx Crosby is.
Yeah, if you watch, you know. There's nothing else going on a lot of times on that Raiders defense, and every offensive coordinator knows wherever he is, two different players are getting hands on him.
Such a good point.
And he still affects games.
He has no help.
He is first team all. If you replay those advanced, we used to talk about this with John Allen all the time. If you replay these seasons where he's hitting the quarterback 36 times, where he's got 20-some tackles for loss, if you replay all these things where he's beaten his man so consistently, and all normal factors are equal, he has 25 sacks. Right. That's multiple times. Like, he's that good of a pass rusher. He is as dynamic as they come. And it's not as if he's the biggest defensive end in the world, but he's pretty damn good against the run. Again, the TFL numbers. Occasionally, he might get too far upfield, and maybe you could take advantage of that, but I'll take my chances with that. Him disrupting so many plays, he is awesome.
He basically averaged 1.5 hits on the quarterback and 2 tackles for loss per game last year. I mean, he is a dominant player. And he did that taking on real chips and real double teams, not Chase Young does it every play because his family says so stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
This is the real deal Holyfield. But I bring this up because the immediate conversation is going to be, what about the Commanders for Maxx Crosby? I'm out. I don't think they can keep doing this. I don't think they can keep kicking the can down the road for the great player now. It worked with Laramie Tunsil. You could say, you can't do this. Look at what happened with Marshawn Lattimore. That was a disaster. That did blow up in their face. And they do regret everything about that deal and the doubling down, which is probably worse than the original deal, honestly. But the Laramie Tunsil one was fantastic. They gave up a lot of picks. It was a huge package you had to put together to go get him, and now you're going to have to pay him. And they'd do it again in a heartbeat, and they should. It's one of the smartest, best things that they've done since Adam Peters has shown up. So sometimes when you go big game hunting, sometimes when you are exhausted trying to reel in that big fish, it is worth it. Occasionally, they get off the hook and it blows up in your face and you're sweaty and you got nothing to show for it. But I can't do this anymore. As much as I'd like Crosby, and I talked at the beginning of last year, I wanted to give up, I don't remember the price tag, but I would have given up a second and a future one or something, whatever. Like, if you could get a deal done with Trey Hendrickson, I would have been willing to do that. Would have cost a lot less than Crosby, but you're getting a good player, not a Crosby-level player. Even in a world where you could give the exact same package that Green Bay did for Micah Parsons, I can't do it. I just think they've got to start thinking about 2 and 3 years from now, not just right in front of the windshield.
If I'm championship team piece away, like, this is what the Bills should be doing. The Bills should be calling 1-800-Raiders and getting Maxx Crosby. The Ravens should be. Or the Bengals. Yeah. A team that is close but needs a star, needs an over-the-top player. Plus, there's a potential out in the contract after, I think, the 2027 season. Looking at this from Spot Track, there's a chance you probably have to restructure, but you could extend him. You could redo some of this stuff. There's a way
really
around.
Quick, I think this is super important. I think you would immediately have to extend him when you traded him, because of his contract. Because there's not guaranteed money after this year.
And you would want to, probably. If you're trading for Maxx Crosby, a guy that'll age pretty well, I would say.
1,000%. But that does mean we're talking about upper 30s
you'll be in the 30s
per year.
Yeah, you'll be in the 30s. But if you're close, then absolutely. I don't view Washington as close. I don't view them as a team that can afford to start trading away draft picks. Had they done a much better job of stockpiling picks, and again, some are you lose some in the Laramie Tunsil deal. Yes, no problem. That worked very, very well. But that's kind of your powder. We're talking about the Wizards and their gunpowder with all the different trades and things that they made and the picks that they have. The current football team does not have much dry powder. So in other words, if they had nothing but storerooms of it, and they'd been acquiring picks, and they traded a bunch of guys at the deadline and had an extra fifth, and they could wheel and deal to turn that 2 5s into a 4, and that 4 into a conditional 3, and play the free agency game really well, you might be in much better shape. They're not. They are among the lowest number of picks in this upcoming draft. They can't afford future draft capital when they have to reboot, get younger, get faster, ASAP. As awesome as Crosby is, as awesome as that dude is, I just can't do it.
I'm looking up edge money. You said you think he'd be in the 30s. What do you think he'd get per year?
I mean, I'm terrible at this, but my guess is 34, 35 AAV, something like that.
I think that is adorable.
Do you think that's low?
Micah Parsons just signed for 46 and a half. Do you remember? AAV.
No, I'd forgotten that. I guess he did.
Aiden
Hutchinson got 45.
Got 45. TJ Watt got 41.
But he'd be 30 at the time of signing. Does that push back at all a little bit? Maybe a little?
I don't think so.
Tiny bit, no.
I mean, how different is... By the way, he wouldn't be because he's 28 right now. You're signing him this offseason probably. So he's still 28 when he signs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like TJ Watt and him are not that different in terms of age. Myles Garrett got $40 million. I think he would easily clear the 40 bar, and the question is how close to Micah would he get at 46? But I am all the way out on this possibility. It has nothing to do with the player. I think Crosby's a badass, and if we would have talked about this last offseason, like right now, I would have had a very different answer. I'm in push chips in mode.
Yeah, coming off NFC title game.
NFC title game. Jaden Daniels looking like an MVP. Defense was kind of middling, in that 15 to 22 range, and I think you can make a jump, and you're going into year 2, and there's all the momentum. It is time to hit reset here a little bit.